Elvis Presley died today. He was 42. Apparently it was a heart attack. He was found at his home in Memphis, not breathing. His road manager tried to revive him. He failed. A hospital tried to revive him. It failed.
For over 3 decades, the final hours of the king of rock and roll inside the Memphis Funeral Home remained a tightly sealed secret. But 33 years after that fateful August night, a shocking leak from the senior embalmer shattered the silence. What exactly did he try to hide from the world? And what truths did his tools finally reveal? The chaos at Baptist Memorial Hospital. On August 16, 1977, a day that was supposed to be a quiet afternoon at Graceland became something completely heartbreaking. It all began when Ginger Alden walked into Elvis Presley's master bathroom and found the king of rock and roll face down on the floor, unresponsive. Within minutes, sirens from ambulances rushed to the estate. Paramedics loaded Elvis inside and began a frantic, high-speed run to Baptist Memorial Hospital. They desperately performed CPR and delivered oxygen during the entire ride, refusing to give up on the music legend. Inside the emergency room, top doctors took over, performing a series of intense, desperate resuscitation attempts to bring his heart back to life. But unfortunately, their efforts were entirely futile. At 3:30 p.m. that day, the medical team stopped and officially pronounced America's biggest icon dead. News of the tragedy leaked to the public almost immediately, sending massive shockwaves through the city. And within an hour, a wave of intense grief hit the hospital gates. Thousands of hysterical fans, as well as aggressive paparazzi, swarmed the property, blocking the streets and demanding answers. In no time, the medical center turned into a chaotic circus. In the middle of this heavy madness, the hospital's security system broke down entirely. An overzealous fan managed to blend in with the crowd, slip past the distracted guards, and sneak right into the room where Elvis's body was laid. In a truly bizarre move, this intruder reached down and stole the original identification toe tag right off the body as a grim souvenir. When the hospital staff discovered the missing tag, intense panic set in. Prowlers were everywhere, and the team knew they had to protect what was left of the king's remains from further disrespect. They quickly came up with a solution to solve the crisis. Workers grabbed a backup paper tag and wrote a fake name on it, labeling the body as John Doe to hide his true identity from anyone else searching the rooms. The hospital was no longer safe, and the pressure was building by the minute. With security entirely compromised and the world screaming for answers, the medical team had to move Elvis's body away from the hospital morgue. Avoiding all major roads where reporters crowded in, they made their way to Memphis Funeral Home. The funeral home staff needed to sign the official transfer paperwork to take legal custody of the remains. The tension in the room was so high that the employee handling the clipboard signed the paper without even lifting the white sheet to verify the identity of the body. Panic had completely taken over, and they simply wanted to get the body inside the building as fast as possible without drawing any extra attention. Once the transfer was complete, they shut the doors. Only 2 men, the senior embalmer and his assistant, Hamilton, were trusted with the actual preparation work. They were under strict orders from the management to maintain absolute discretion, warning them that not a single detail of their work could ever leave the room. To make sure no one interrupted them, an unprecedented lockdown protocol began. Armed guards took up positions at every single door, window, and alleyway around the perimeter, turning the funeral home into a literal fortress, just to avoid outsiders from knowing where Elvis's body was kept. While the 2 men set up their equipment, a delivery came in at the back entrance. Elvis's father, Vernon Presley, had personally requested a custom casket for his son. It was a spectacular half-ton vault made of heavy copper and bronze, matching the exact style of the casket used for Elvis's mother years earlier. It took a team of workers just to roll the incredibly heavy box into the building. With the heavy casket waiting and the guards watching the perimeter, the 2 men turned their attention to the table. Safe behind these locked, legally closed doors, the senior embalmer began his grim task, completely unaware that he was saving physical evidence for the future. The embalming process. The embalmer and his assistant were faced with a huge challenge. Commencing their work, they saw a body clearly ravaged by years of severe cardiovascular strain. Elvis suffered from significant swelling, a consequence of his physical condition and the heart failure that ended his life. To prepare him for public viewing, they spent hours making him look a lot more like himself when he was alive. Elvis had been losing his natural hair color, which had turned gray in his final months, so he dyed his hair a deep jet black dye to restore his signature iconic look. After the hair work, they moved their attention to his face. The sudden cardiac arrest and the invasive autopsy had left visible marks and trauma. The mortuary team applied heavy cosmetics to mask these signs, ensuring he appeared peaceful and composed for the millions of fans who would eventually pay their respects. Once his appearance was perfect, they dressed him in his final white suit. This specific outfit choice came directly from Elvis's father, who wanted his son to look his best one last time. Throughout this intense process, the senior embalmer made a quiet, unauthorized decision. Instead of discarding the medical supplies after the work ended, he gathered the instruments used during the preparation. He kept the lip brushes, forceps, and needle injectors, placing them inside a private box, choosing to save these items rather than throw them away, effectively hiding a piece of history that no one else knew existed. He took this kit home, hiding it away at his residence while the rest of the world grieved for the loss of a music icon. Years passed, and the funeral home continued its business, never knowing that a collection of items used on the king was sitting in a home nearby. This private collection remained hidden from the public and the media. It seemed destined to vanish into history, forgotten by almost everyone involved in that fateful night. For decades, the casket sat undisturbed in a private residence until the 33rd anniversary of Elvis's death loomed near. The 2010 Shocker. In July 2010, Leslie Hindman Auctioneers, a famous auction house located in Chicago, made a sudden announcement that they were preparing to host a highly unusual and macabre sale. But this was not a typical auction of stage outfits, guitars, or gold records. This auction was focused entirely on the private collection of medical gear used on Elvis Presley on the night he passed away. The timing of this event was incredibly calculated because the auction house scheduled the event for August 12th, which was exactly 4 days before fans around the world would mark 33 years since Elvis died. With thousands of people already traveling to Memphis for the annual Memorial Week, the news instantly grabbed global media attention. Everyone wanted to know how these highly personal, clinical items had leaked out after decades of complete silence. The mystery surrounding the seller didn't last long. It was revealed that the items belonged to the retired senior embalmer of the Memphis Funeral Home and his son, who had kept the box hidden away for over 30 years, waiting for the right moment to reveal it to the world. When the auction catalog went live, the shocking lot lists left people stunned. The items offered for sale included used rubber gloves, specialized metal aneurysm hooks, a comb, cosmetic eyeliner, and the infamous backup toe tag marked John Doe. But the auction and the items listed for auction weren't the crazy part of it. The financial value of these items was what blew people away. Pricing experts evaluated the 2 grim lots and estimated they would easily sell for over $14,000. This was proof that the market for celebrity memorabilia had reached a strange new level. Not just that, die-hard fans and wealthy collectors immediately began preparing their finances, eager to possess something that physically touched the legendary singer in his final hours. The anticipation built rapidly as the auction date approached, creating a massive wave of excitement and controversy. As collectors prepared to bid thousands on the tools that touched the king's corpse, a furious legal battle erupted behind the scenes. E.C. Daves, the president of the Memphis Funeral Home, was downright furious when he learned about the upcoming sale. He immediately launched a public counterattack to challenge the auction, demanding that the event not be held. The funeral home management saw the auction of these items as not only a massive violation of professional ethics, but also a direct insult to the Presley family. Soon, lawyers were suited up, ready to put up a corporate resistance, sparking debates over the authenticity of the items. The retired embalmer claimed they were the actual tools used on Elvis because he had carefully kept the tools as a keepsakes from that unforgettable night. However, former co-workers and other mortuary staff stepped forward with a very different story. They stated that the facility followed strict rules where all medical gear was thoroughly sterilized and reused for other clients. This meant the items in the auction lot might have been used on numerous other people, creating massive doubts about their unique connection to the music legend. Even if the tools were authentic, there was a much larger legal hurdle blocking the sale. Attorneys quickly raised the question of ownership, establishing a firm legal stance. Any equipment used during an official mortuary procedure legally belonged to the corporation, not the individual employee who held the tools. Since the embalmer was working for the company in 1977, he had no right to take the items home, let alone give them to his son to sell for a large profit. The parent company made it clear that they would protect their property in court. The legal pressure forced a sudden shutdown of the entire event. Just days before the bidding was scheduled to start in Chicago, the auction house announced a dramatic cancellation. The global spotlight faded overnight, and the items never hit the auction block. Following the cancellation, the retired embalmer was forced to quietly turn over the entire collection to the funeral home's parent company to avoid a lawsuit. While the auction was successfully out of the war, it reignited a fiery global curiosity about what the medical records had to reveal about Elvis's passing. What doctors actually found after the whole hullabaloo surrounding the auction and legal back and forth, the conversation quickly shifted back to what led to Elvis's death. The tools might have been used in his last moments, but the real answers were in the hands of the medical experts who stood in the examination room in August 1977. While the embalmer kept silent for decades, the actual pathologists and doctors recorded devastating physical truths during the official autopsy. When the pathologists did true examinations, they found the main cause that led to his death. The official autopsy report documented that Elvis's heart was enlarged by nearly 1/3 its normal size, which was abnormal. The doctors soon found the reason for this massive strain was caused by severe atherosclerosis. It might have been that Elvis had been living with unchecked severe high blood pressure during his final years. This combination led the medical team to their final consensus, revealing Elvis suffered a fatal cardiac arrhythmia on his bathroom floor. But his heart was only half of the medical crisis. What doctors discovered next in his digestive tract was truly harrowing. Dr. George Nikopoulos and the pathologists documented evidence of severe, agonizing constipation that had plagued the singer for years. This was not a minor discomfort. It was a dangerous, advanced medical emergency hiding inside the world's biggest superstar. The doctors handed down a clinical diagnosis of megacolon. They discovered a large intestine that was massively distended, stretched out to twice its normal width and length. What was even more shocking was that the organ was completely filled with heavily impacted matter that had been building up for months. The digestive system had failed so bad that it could no longer move waste out of his body. This could have been as a result of the later singer's lifelong lifestyle habit. When he was alive, everyone knew he stuck to his high-calorie comfort foods, which were heavily loaded with heavy fats. On the other hand, it could have been his high intake of opiates, as Elvis relied on prescription painkillers. This revelation finally debunked all the wild conspiracy theories about his passing. As these horrific medical realities leaked out, the public demanded to know how the king's personal physician allowed this to happen. The pill cocktail. The answers arrived when the official toxicology report finally became public, revealing a lethal mix of substances coursing through Elvis's system at the time of his death. The laboratory results confirmed the presence of over 9 distinct prescription sedatives and powerful analgesics. They included heavy pain medications like Demerol and codeine, present in high amounts. It only told so much of how much pain Elvis was in while still trying to survive his grueling schedule. Doctors who had the opportunity to review the case explained how these medications became so dangerous. From the results, it might seem Elvis suffered from a genetic liver defect that made him completely unable to properly break down codeine. Without the right liver enzymes to process the medication, the substance would linger in his body, building up to toxic levels much faster than it would in an average patient. This meant even standard prescribed doses could unintentionally cause severe damage to his organs. The heavy accumulation of these medications also solves the great mystery surrounding his changing appearance. During his final months, fans were shocked by his heavily bloated and swollen looks on stage. Medical experts now recognize that his physical transformation closely resembled the symptoms of Cushing's disease. This condition wasn't a natural weight gain, but rather a severe adverse reaction to the heavy cortisone treatments he took to manage chronic pain and joint inflammation throughout his body. The public outrage over these findings eventually led to serious legal consequences for Elvis's inner circle. Law enforcement launched a major investigation into Dr. George Nicopolis, resulting in a dramatic trial focused on his medical practices. Prosecutors accused the doctor of overprescribing thousands of powerful pills to the singer during his final years. Although the jury eventually acquitted the physician of criminal charges, the medical board later revoked his license for his unethical prescriptions. With his body ravaged by prescriptions and disease, the Presley family made a controversial decision that shields his secrets to this very day. The sealed legacy. Immediately after the tragedy, Elvis's father stepped in to take total control of the narrative surrounding his son. He initiated powerful legal action to officially lock and seal the complete autopsy report away from the public eye for 50 years. Because of this legal move, the true unredacted files remain under tight legal protection. Medical investigators and historians are not legally allowed to open or view these documents until 2027, ensuring the specific details of Elvis's final hours remain hidden. The Presley family had a deeply personal motivation for keeping these graphic medical secrets hidden from the world. Vernon wanted to protect his son's public image from the painful realities of his severe prescription medication addiction. The world remembered Elvis as a vibrant, handsome performer who changed the trajectory of music. Vernon knew that exposing the grueling details of a failing body would permanently taint that legendary legacy. The family chose strict privacy over public satisfaction, keeping the clinical truths buried to preserve the memory of the king. However, keeping the files locked away created a massive informational void that lasted for decades. Without official documentation available for the public to read, unscrupulous media mongers invented wild conspiracy theories because there was no official paperwork available to disprove their claims. For decades, these sensational stories turned the tragic end of a music legend into a highly profitable sideshow. The failed 2010 auction of the mortuary tools proved that people were still trying to cash in on the darkest day of Elvis's life. When we strip away the internet rumors, the legal battles, and the bizarre corporate fights over used medical equipment, we are left with the reality of a life lost. It is a narrative that requires us to look past the glitz of the stage and see the real person behind the famous name. Honoring the legend means recognizing that behind the sensationalized headlines was a human being struggling with immense physical pain and addiction. Elvis Presley, apart from being a musical genius, was a man whose body was breaking down rapidly under the weight of severe illness. Under the intense pressure of his work schedule, the medical records might just show that he didn't care so much about his health. Worst of all, it showed his reliance on a dangerous combination of prescription medications, all because he was trying to cope with unbearable daily suffering while trying to satisfy millions of fans. He was a person pushed to his absolute physical limits. fighting a quiet battle against his own failing organs every single day, until his heart finally gave out on a bathroom floor. The embalmer might not have had anything to say about Elvis, but he was involved in one of the most dramatic events relating to the music icon. His secret collection of tools reminds us how fragile history can be when handled behind closed doors. Do you think he was let go easily after trying to profit from private properties used on the late singer's remains? Or did the corporate shutdown serve as a fair punishment? Let us know in the comments. If you want to see more deep dives into the mysteries of famous figures, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.